Passion, purpose, possibilities. They're all right there. But sometimes we need a little push. And that's where SheSez comes in. Think of it as a master class taught by the world's most interesting women, sharing stories and ideas, because girlfriends help each other. This is SheSez with Linda Grasso. Hello and welcome to SheSez. Our guest today is Trish Healy, who hails from Australia. Yay, we're international. She spent most of her career as a highly accomplished talent management executive. She was a career woman, but everything changed after she and her husband took in a 12-year-old foster child last year. The couple, who's now in the process of adopting the child, found it a bit daunting that they'd have limited time with the child. Trish in particular felt that it might come down to only 6 years if her daughter went off to college, as most kids do. Trish had waited a long time to be a parent. She wanted to really max out on the experience as best she could, and her big job made that difficult. Trish, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Linda. Great to see you too.
Take me back to that moment when you were working at Ferry. You'd been there for how long?
Been there nearly 10 years at the time.
Wow. And were you a VP or a senior VP?
I was a VP in the North American business. So I'd moved over from Australia and I'd transferred with the business and came here to their head office and set up in LA.
So you're very vested in your career. You probably had a lifestyle that you were supporting.
Yes. I was the main breadwinner at that point in our relationship, in my husband and my relationship, and we'd moved to LA and taken the opportunity to move here and start, I guess, a career here in the US.
So when you moved here, did you have in the back of your mind that you, I mean, I know you told me earlier that you'd always wanted to be a mom. You weren't able to have children. You thought when you were younger you might want to be a foster mom. When you moved here, was that in the back of your head?
It was. The Australian system around adoption is very different. And in the year that we applied in Australia, only 12 children were adopted that year in the state that we lived. So we got the advice to move overseas, and by chance, the work opportunity came up at the same time. It was like our worlds collided.
Yeah.
And so we decided, we're going to take this journey and move to the US, and we're going to pursue adoption. And it took a little while. I was still obviously very invested in my career and was very busy. I traveled probably 4 out of 5 days a week for the first 2 years that I lived in the US. And then we decided we were really going to get serious about adoption and started to investigate some options with Kidsave.
And how long did it take you from when you first contacted Kidsave to actually take in your 12-year-old?
Yeah, so we met her in December of 2015, and we'd been working with Kidsave since about March of 2015, so it was about 8 months or so, 9 months, and we met her, and just instantly there was a connection. Independently, we met her at an event, my husband and I, and then we left the event and went, that girl, there's something about her. And there was a real connection there. And then it was 6 months after that she moved into our home and became part of our family that very moment.
Trish, I have to say, I so admire people who adopt foster kids, because so many people want a, brand new spanking young baby, that they can take from birth or infancy. And, the kids that don't get adopted, it's kind of sad. I mean, there's such a large amount of them that never get adopted, that stay in the foster care system and just go from foster care home to foster care home. So I so admire that, you did.
Thank you. And we feel very lucky. The reality is in the US, there are thousands upon thousands of children in the foster care system aged between 9 and 17. And there are very few organizations looking to have or find them a permanent connection and a permanent home. And so we were really fortunate that we knew we wanted to adopt. We weren't sure about the baby. We did look into that. And then when this came up, we went, that's it. That's what we want to do. And so it was almost an instant knowing that that was right for us. And we started to attend the events and meet these wonderful kids. They're smart, they're funny, they're engaging. They just don't have the opportunities that the rest of us have had.
Trish, when you adopt a child that's 12, a foster child, or when you bring a child into your home, do you have to undergo classes? Because a lot of these kids, have issues because, they haven't had a mom and a dad. They haven't had a constant parent in their lives. do counseling? Is that part of it?
Yeah, it certainly is. So all of the kids have typically faced some level of trauma, and some of the trauma is very severe. And so we did undergo a lot of training. We did nearly a year of training, sporadically through the year, but we really learnt about what it was like for those kids. You can never truly understand it, but you can educate yourself in a way that helps them. And so we spent a lot of time educating ourselves, and organisations, again, like Kidsave and the adoption agency we worked with helped us get ready for Celia, who's our daughter, joining the family.
And in the back of your head, when you brought her in, you were thinking the whole time that the end goal was to ultimately adopt her. If it worked out, or how do you?
Yeah, from day one, we knew we wanted to adopt. And from day one of her moving into our home, we knew she was our daughter. Like, we just knew. There was no question. She didn't believe it. And truly, I don't know that even today she 100% feels it. But we try and, make sure that she understands that. And we were so fortunate yesterday to be given our court date for our adoption. And so I think for her, that's really cemented it, that this is going to happen, because there's been lots of broken promises for her. And so now we can give her that permanent home.
So when you first got her in the house, you were still working full time with this crazy schedule when you were traveling. You must have felt stressed.
I was. Both my husband and I decided to take the summer off. So she joined us the day after school finished, and we decided we'd take the whole summer off and spend our summer with her, integrating her into our home and our lifestyle and getting to know her.
And Corn Ferry was okay with that?
They were good about that. They gave me some time off. But when I got back to work, everything had changed. And I think that's true for so many women who go and become a parent, or men and women, but women in particular who become a parent. You become a mum, and the support system really isn't there. Things change for you as a mother when that happens. And it didn't matter that whether we were pregnant and had a child or it was a 12-year-old. I thought it would be a lot easier, but it just wasn't.
So, but you stayed with it for a bit.
I did, but I knew something wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't fulfilled. I'd always had that sense of I'm making money and growing my career, making money and fulfilling that piece of, the financial, but I never felt fulfilled inside. I never felt that this was right for me. And so, when you're in the corporate world, you're making money for other people. You're making money for shareholders or executives. You're not contributing beyond that, really. And I felt the real need to do something more than that.
And one day, your daughter, who had never had a sleepover, said, I want to have a sleepover party. Can you create something special for me? And girlfriend, you went to town. Tell me what you did. So you're making all of us moms look terrible right now. We're sleep on the sofa. Here's an old mattress. Not you.
Our aim is to help mums do it. Mums and dads do this really well. So what happened was she put it on her Christmas wish list. So she had everything on this wish list, from socks, very humble socks, all the way through to a swimming pool. But one of the things that she put on the list was a sleepover with her cousins. And she hadn't experienced that before. And so we wanted to give her this amazing experience. So I investigated it in my home country, Australia, and saw what was happening there, and then went, why isn't this happening in the US?
So in other words, someone in Australia was doing something similar to what you ultimately...
Different, but similar. And we saw the concept and went, this is incredible. Why isn't it here? We can really change this and make it transform sleepovers for children and adults.
And the concept was WonderTent Parties that you ultimately came up with, which is essentially your fantasy sleepover party, from decor to activities to food. It's sort of like what they call glamping.
It
but
is.
In a sleepover way. And to be honest with you, I told you right before we went on today that I didn't completely get it until I saw the pictures. I mean, it's so creative what you do, and so beautiful, and so just really innovative. I mean, just seeing the visuals of it, you got a good time going on, no matter what else happens.
Thank you. Yes, it's truly meant to be a magical, wondrous experience. And so we look at all of the details and just bring that to life. It's hard to explain. It's best to visualize. Once you see the pictures, you can understand.
So for starters, you create these wonderful tents. I mean, when I was little, my brother and my sisters and I used to make like forts, and we take, did you do that too?
Yeah, blankets over the table.
Sheets. Yeah, we take like a, broom here, and we'd, do sheets and, maybe my mom would give us a few things and we'd glue it on. And it's that, but like much more in a creative and sort of professional way. How do you make those gorgeous tents?
We have a designer who is fantastic, and she really brings together the concept with me to make sure that it's, as I said, magical and a 5-star experience for the kids and adults, because we've found through the business that the adults want to sleep out in a glamping tent as much as the kids do. So inside we have these A-frame tents, which the kids sleep in, and then outside we have a big bell tent, and the kids or adults sleep in that overnight.
So are they custom created for each party, or do you have a big room where you keep, 10 different versions, and if he likes Indians, it's more of a teepee, or if she likes princesses, it's more of a...
That's exactly it. So we
Okay.
have different themes, but we're always adding to our collections. So we have themes like adventure camper or nature's child or cool nights. So they're all beautifully curated. And so if we don't hand make, we curate beautiful pieces to bring together.
And the tents actually have sleeping bags in them. I
They
mean, not
have-
sleeping bags, they're mattresses,
They
it looks
do.
like.
It's a full mattress rather
like a
than
bed,
It
yeah.
is. It's a full mattress rather than air bed, because no parent wants a child waking up in the middle of the night saying that their bed's deflated. And so we've got proper mattresses, beautiful lush blankets, and all of the accessories that go with that, little lanterns, bed trays, everything you could want.
And then do you go and you create the scene and you set it, and then do you orchestrate the events and you preside over that as well? You're sort of party planners at that point.
We can, and we can bring in whatever the client is looking for. So if they want something extravagant or something very simple, we can do the full range. And so our key part is actually going and delivering, styling, and then picking it up the next day. So as a parent, you don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have to worry about washing any bedding, setting up the environment, cleaning up afterwards. We'll come and do all of that for you.
So your daughter asked you to have one. You obviously had it. It went down with fabulous rave reviews. A light went off. A light bulb.
It did. It was, how can I create this experience for others? But more so, how can I build a business that means that I can give back? That was such an important part of me developing any business. I was always going to do something that gave back, and found a way to connect it to Kidsave.
So a portion of your profits go back to the organization that helped you
Create a
get
family.
your child.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. So I'm assuming your mind was racing. You thought you had something really cool and a great idea where the next few months you were probably running around and talking to people, but you're still working at Corn Ferry, right?
I'd actually decided to leave at that point. So
Wow.
I went, this it's time.
How
It's
did you
time
get
to
the
decide.
guts to do that though? You'd spent so much time. You were finally making great money. You had a lifestyle, and now you had a child, and you literally walked away from it.
I think all of the change happened in one big swoop for me. So the change of taking some time out, which I'd never done in my career before. So that 10, 12 weeks off, I had not had that time out to really think. Then things when I got back to work had changed. Unfortunately, my father passed away, and it really made me think about the values in my life that I wanted to live. And so I started to really think about that and went, this isn't what I want to be doing. I need to do something that really fulfills my soul. And that's why it was born, and decided to take that risk. My husband was incredibly supportive. My friends, I have a great group of friends, girlfriends and male friends, who were 100% supportive and said, just give it a try. You've always wanted to do something. It's time.
Having so many, I'm so blessed. I still have both my mother and my father, but so many of my friends have lost their parents in recent years, or a parent like you did. And, they expressed something similar to what you did before we went on today. And you were telling me about your dad, and I guess at his funeral or some sort of gathering afterwards, you were watching a video of him and they were showing all these pictures, and, you thought about, how many things don't matter, what you're wearing, all the stuff we stress about. I was saying when I walked in, oh my God, my hair looks terrible today. And, all that stuff just really doesn't matter. It just comes down to, the essence of the person and who they touched, and,
Yeah, he certainly taught me that it was about the values he lived and how he instilled those values in us. And the value that probably stood out for me the most was the one of generosity and giving. My dad was a very loving, giving man, and he did so much for us as a family. I'm one of 5 girls, and they migrated from India to Australia and created a new life for us, my mum and dad, and they gave us so much. And I knew in myself that I just wanted to do something that was giving, and giving in the corporate arena wasn't the right thing for me. It was about giving back to, in this case, what I believe to be the most vulnerable in our community, these 9 to 17-year-olds who have nothing. They don't have permanency. They don't have parents. And I can't imagine growing up without that. So that's what I wanted to do, is give back.
I thought it was interesting that you said that your husband also quit his job at the time and sort of had a reprioritizing moment there about he wanted to spend more time with Celia as well.
Yeah, when we moved over to the US, he decided to transform his life also. He was a writer by trade, a copywriter in advertising, and he decided to come over here and try music writing and script writing, and he is fully into that as well as doing the advertising, and he's been an incredible supporter, but also been there for Celia. He goes to all of her games, makes sure that he gets there. He's 100% in her life and just her biggest supporter, as am I. We want nothing more for her than to have all of the opportunities that she can in life.
So I'm sure there have been a unique set of stresses to this.
Yes.
Address those.
Yeah. There's the stress of having a daughter join your life at an age where they're already very formed. So there's the stress of adopting somebody who, all of you can you can impact, but not necessarily influence everything that's happened in their lives. And so there was that stress. There was the stress of creating a new business. There was the stress/loss of losing my dad, of losing a career. I lost my career at that point as well, the career that I thought I was on a trajectory for. So there were a lot of losses and stress to deal with.
Circle back for a second to the loss of your career. So even though you orchestrated it and you wanted it, it still was somewhat jarring.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's just the inherent fear of I'm doing something new that I don't know. I've never created my own business. I ran a $50 to $60 million business within a business, but I'd never done everything to run my own business. Everything from working out insurances to marketing to the finances to even learning how to drive a truck. So it was a whole new learning curve.
It does seem like that you had a specific skill set, though, that you had learned in the corporate environment and that you were able to apply to WonderTent Parties. I mean, as much as it makes us smile, it's true, right?
Yeah, I took all of the skills that I'd had in my career and just reframed them. That's what's been great. I've been able to say, okay, I learned how to do this in corporate. How do I twist that and change it so that it fits this new business? And it is a small business right now, but I hope to grow it to be something quite large. And so how do I make sure that I pivot and use all of those skills that I learned in corporate and transfer them to this new world?
You seem like a pretty confident person. Have you always been like that?
I don't know that I am.
Really?
In all honesty, I'm certainly very driven. I'm determined, I think most people would say, but I'm not sure about confident.
How is confident different than those two?
That self-assuredness, I don't know that I have all of that yet. I still feel like I'm getting that. I'm coming into my own in this business, and that's taking time, more time than I expected. So every day I doubt, is this going to work? Are we going to get a booking next weekend or next month? You doubt it every step of the way, but I think it's the knowledge that I want to do this. I want to wake up every day and do something that gives back. And I know that by creating a commercial business, I can take some of that and do some good with it. That's what drives me every day. I can get up and do that, and I know I can do that.
You know, it's funny. We have so many different types of women on SheSez, and sometimes someone will have the misperception that it's about, women trying to get a job. And I always say it's not about women trying to get a job or a new job. It's about a path, passion, or purpose.
Yes.
It's about crafting your own next chapter, something that works for you. It can be a new job. It could be something like the guest we had, Sarah Robarts, who rediscovered a love of painting and had her first show at, 45, I think she was, and sold 11 paintings. It could be a lot of things. But that said, you to me are such a perfect example of someone who has shown incredible ability to craft their own next chapter, simply meaning that, you were a success and you seem to have it all, but what was going down for you wasn't working in your life. And so you crafted your own next chapter. You created something that worked for you on your own terms. And that to me is sort of the classic SheSez woman, because so many of us get stuck in a lifestyle or a job or a gig that really truly isn't working, but is so hard to let go of.
Yeah, it is letting go and being okay and accepting that as a chapter done. And it's okay that it's done. And that was hard. That was hard to say that's done and I'm moving to something new, something that was completely fresh and different and something I didn't know. And still today I question whether I can do, but I'm going to give it my best shot because I know I've been able to be successful in the past. So how do I apply all of that and make sure that I can be successful in the future? And success isn't the financial bit anymore. Success for me is the internal fulfillment. It is providing for my family. It is making sure my daughter has every opportunity. That's what success looks like. And that's what my dad's death had taught me, that success wasn't any of those financial or material or physical attributes. It was about actually finding what would drive me to live the life I wanted to.
It must be cool for your daughter to realize that, not only has she impacted your life and made the two of you a family with a child, but she also inspired, your life change and this business. Is she having fun with it?
Sometimes it's hard to get.
Darn it, it's never perfect with kids.
I think I would love it if she was more involved, but even asking her to unload the truck some nights is really hard.
Kids are so funny. It's so hard to impress them. I remember for years I was on television. My kids could care less. And I'd be like, look, this is what I do, guys. My nanny would be like, Mom's going to be on at 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. And they just watch for 10 seconds. Done.
Exactly.
And then now I don't even think they know what I do.
I'm sure she doesn't.
Besides grocery shop.
Yeah, I'm sure she doesn't quite know. In fact, we have, in terms of the day-to-day, so we have this weekend, I think it's 7 now of her friends coming over to do a backyard movie night experience with all of our things. So we try and integrate her where we can, and but it's not her interest. Not yet.
Trish, I want to come up with a couple of takeaways together from your story. Things that some of our listeners can think about and learn from. Typically, they're tips, strategies, or insights that we can take away from your story. What should women take away from your story, your reinvention story?
I think what you said earlier about feeling that being stuck, that you don't have to feel stuck, that you can actually craft something for yourself. You might not know what it is, but you can actually spend the time thinking about it and making that life change if you really want it. So it's about wanting it and saying, okay, what am I going to do about that real desire? Am I going to just keep going down the same path, or am I going to change? And so I think that's a big takeaway. Don't feel stuck. You're not. You can actually make the change.
Another takeaway that I definitely get from you is that, it's funny. We have these perceptions of women, and I look at you, and before you even came in, I'm like, wow, she's been a Corn Ferry executive for 20 years, and she's so successful, and now she's come up with this concept, and you're just a regular girl.
I am. Very ordinary, normal.
No. I don't mean to downplay your successes, but you're every woman, Yes, inside. Yes, you've been successful. Yes, now you're an entrepreneur. Yes, you took it upon yourself to do something extraordinary and bring in a foster child. But you're so every woman, You're so, as you said, still evolving. You don't think you're this big, super confident, powerful person. You're just a regular person who's making your way like everyone else. And I say that in a truly admiring way.
Thank you. And I do. I feel normal. I feel that I'm just like any other woman out there who actually wants to do something for themselves. And that you don't have to feel that you're this powerful, highfalutin person who's going to take on the world. Do something for yourself, do something for your family, do something that sits well with you, and you'll find your way. you will find your way. It will come together.
Trish, have loved having you. Your story is really inspiring, and I want to have a Wonder Tent party.
Absolutely.
Do you do them for adults too?
We did. We did one 2 weeks ago for 10 ladies who wanted to sleep out, and we put
Wow.
up 2 glamping tents, and they had a lovely dinner party and then slept outside. It was fantastic.
I'm inspired.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you get a minute, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We'd really appreciate the feedback. Thanks again.